From Toronto studios, this is Muslim News on Muslim Network TV. Assalamu alaikum, I'm Zahra Syed. Our top story tonight. The Biden administration has initiated a program to monitor and investigate the killing of civilians globally through the use of U.S. weapons. The State Department, in collaboration with other agencies, announced the Civilian Harm Incident Response Guidance Program. It remains unclear whether investigations conducted under this initiative will be publicly disclosed. Senator Elizabeth Warren emphasized that she and other senators remain committed to the U.S. role in civilian casualties, particularly in Yemen. Many non-state actors, including global terrorist groups, have been found to be in possession of U.S. weapons. It remains a puzzle of how these arms reach such groups. An American Muslim who served in the U.S. Marine Corps revealed he faced tough times shortly after September 11, 2001. When the planes hit the Twin Towers that day, 19-year-old Muslim American Mansoor Shams was horrified. He wrote in an article recently published in Newsweek he was ridiculed in his unit and labeled a bin Laden or terrorist. It was suggested he might be a threat to his colleagues, Shams wrote. Shams said post-9/11 challenges for American Muslims continue. Anti-Muslim sentiment has manifested in many ways, including microaggressions, stereotyping, and bullying in schools. Shams, a member of the Council of Foreign Relations, says anti-Muslim resentment persists. In a recent campaign speech, former President Donald Trump hinted at reinstating an immigration ban, underscoring the ongoing conflation of Islam and terrorism. Shams founded MuslimMarine.org, which documents Muslims in the armed forces. He urged his fellow Americans to recognize and accept Muslim Americans without prejudice. Ilyasa Shabazz, the daughter of Malcolm X, recently visited the Turkish capital Ankara and spoke about the beauty and peace of Islam. She also stopped at Malcolm X Street near the U.S. Embassy in Ankara and told Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan she was honored and proud that he named the street after her father. Shabazz says she was welcomed by the Turkish people due to her father's work. Malcolm X, a civil rights activist who preached and worked for Black empowerment and dignity in the 1950s and 60s in the U.S., converted to Islam in 1964. After his conversion and making Hajj that same year, he changed his name to Al-Hajj Malk al-Shabazz. Ilyasa Shabazz says her father underlined the importance of embracing the brotherhood and sisterhood of one another. She also talked about the Audubon Ballroom in Manhattan, where he was killed in February of 1965. She says the venue was made into the Malcolm X and Dr. Betty Shabazz Memorial and Education Center. Ilyasa said it provides cultural and educational programs to inspire the next generation of leaders with ethics and morals. A recent advertisement by cosmetics giant Sephora featuring Muslim soccer players in hijab has sparked a wave of criticism in France. The ad features members of Les Hijabaus, an advocacy group that campaigns for the right of Muslim women to wear headscarves in soccer. The French Soccer Federation maintains a ban on hijabs at official matches, which has been denounced by various rights advocates. Some right-wingers and social media users called for a boycott of Sephora as a result of the advertisement. They accuse the brand of supporting the Islamization of France. The Collective to Combat Islamophobia in Europe praised Sephora and the Les Hijabaus for spotlighting Muslim women in France. In recent years, France has banned full-face veils in public, prohibited the wearing of headscarves in schools and state institutions, and banned civil servants from wearing headscarves in the workplace. Recently, the abaya was banned from public schools, prompting widespread protests. A large temple dedicated to the Hindu god, Lord Rama, on the site of the demolished Babri Mosque in the northern Indian city of Ayodhya is set to open January 24th. Authorities will invite Prime Minister Narendra Modi to the ceremony. The 16th century Babri Mosque, which once stood there, was demolished by Hindu extremists in 1992, leading to deadly riots that killed approximately 3,000. construction of the temple has been a major promise of the ruling of Hindu nationalist Bharatiya Janata Party for more than 30 years. In 2019, the Supreme Court awarded Hindus the land to build the temple. Naripendra Mishra, chairman of the temple's construction committee, says the first floor of the temple has been completed. Its inauguration will likely coincide with the announcement of India's general elections, which are scheduled for April or May of next year. Observers assume Prime Minister Narendra Modi will use this in the elections to consolidate the Hindu vote. Mishra insists the decision to open the temple in 2024 is not politically motivated. Jewish settlers storm Al-Aqsa Mosque to mark Rosh Hashanah. Stay tuned and we'll be right back. Welcome back. Jewish settlers continued incursions into the Al-Aqsa Mosque complex on Thursday amid rising and dangerous tension. Raids on the Al-Aqsa Mosque are intensifying in the lead-up to the Jewish religious New Year, Rosh Hashanah, which begins at sundown today. In the early morning hours today, fanatic Jewish settlers gathered at the Western Wall. They conducted a raid by entering through the Morocco gate to the west of the Al-Aqsa Mosque in the presence of Israeli police. Settlers walked barefoot in the court of Al-Aqsa Mosque and performed various religious rituals. Today's raids included the fanatic Jewish rabbi Eliyahu Weber, who frequently participates in such incursions and encourages settlers in this regard. The Al-Aqsa Mosque and the endowments in Jerusalem are under the guardianship of the Jerusalem Islamic Waqf Administration. The Al-Aqsa Mosque and the endowments in Jerusalem are under the guardianship of the Jerusalem Islamic Waqf Administration that is affiliated with the Jordanian Ministry of Waqf. Since 2003, Jews have been entering the holy sanctuary with Israeli police escort without the permission of the administration of Al-Aqsa Mosque. Pakistan has rejected allegations by India that it was involved in the killing of its security forces in the disputed region of Jammu and Kashmir. 3 officers, including 2 members of the Indian Army and a policeman, reportedly were killed when they were clashed with armed rebels seeking to liberate the region. According to recent reports, another soldier is missing, while 2 others were injured in the clashes that erupted on Wednesday. Indian Minister and former Army Chief General V.K. Singh urged the international community to isolate Pakistan and increase pressure on the country to tackle cross-border terrorism. Pakistan Foreign Ministry spokesperson Mumtaz Zahra Baloch was not surprised if New Delhi blamed Islamabad for these killings. Asked if New Delhi could use the incident to launch a false flag operation in Pakistan, Baloch says India has a habit of dragging Pakistan into its domestic politics. In 2019, Indian fighter jets entered Pakistani territory to attack so-called terrorist hideouts, following an armed attack on a convoy that killed 40 Indian soldiers. The Pakistani Air Force shot down an Indian plane in return and captured the pilot, who was later released. Kashmir, a Muslim-majority region, is held in parts by India and Pakistan and claimed in full by both countries. Some Kashmiri groups in Jammu and Kashmir are fighting Indian rule for independence or for unification with neighboring Pakistan. More than 5 million people have been displaced by the ongoing fighting between the Sudanese army and the Rapid Support Forces, or RSF, paramilitary group. According to the United Nations, over 4 million people are internationally displaced and more than 1 million have left the country. At least 3,000 civilians have been killed and thousands injured in clashes since April in the war-torn country. Several ceasefire agreements brokered by Saudi Arabia and U.S. mediators have failed to end the violence. At least 50,000 houses have collapsed completely or partially due to last Friday's deadly earthquake in Morocco. Following a meeting chaired by King Mohammed VI, The Moroccan royal court says the government would grant emergency assistance worth about $3,000 to affected families. Direct financial assistance of about $14,000 will be granted for totally collapsed houses and about $8,000 for partially collapsed houses. At least 2,900 people were killed and more than 5,000 others injured when a magnitude 7 earthquake struck Morocco on September 8th. The quake was the strongest to hit the North African country in a century, according to Morocco's National Geophysical Institute. To learn more about the rescue and relief work, we have with us Ridwuan Majidi. Thank you, Mr. Majidi, for joining us. What is the current situation of the rescue and relief operations around Morocco's earthquake-affected area?
First of all, I would like to thank Muslim Network TV for this opportunity to talk about the situation in Morocco after the earthquake that hit last week in a magnitude of 7.2. And it hit the southwest of the Marrakech city, which is we are in at this moment. And I'm going to give you a quick review of one of the centers of distribution. There are so many that many NGOs they are working in a collaboration to establish distribution centers where they will collect whatever is needed, especially in food, sanitary, articles and other stuff to help the people, because in this area, it's a very difficult area to go to because of the mountains. This is an area where you have the highest mountain is about 4,000 meters above the sea. So I will show you quickly. Now this is part of the warehouse, because there was a lot of things that is already gone because they are doing a schedule during the day to let things go to the people. This is part of the warehouse where they have volunteers and they have all the products. And this is like a three floors area, building. And most of the products, as you can see, some of them are here, for example, to be distributed in a certain areas, and it's a very organized work. Now they are going to the other stage after the earthquake, which is getting some of the covers, because that area it's cold. It's getting very cold, and it's a mountain area, and these are small villages, very remote villages, where they have to take those stuff every now and then. Actually, now we are on the 7th day after the earthquake. The earthquake happened on last Friday around 11:14 p.m. to be exact, on that southwest area of the city of Marrakech. And it has hit most of these areas there. The epicenter, there was a lot of damage happened. And these mostly are remote places in the mountains, and to reach those places was extremely difficult. Like I said, the relief work was not easy because of the nature of the place where this earthquake hit, and but still, the agencies, the authorities from the Moroccan government, the authorities from other institutions, the many non-profit organizations, relief organizations from almost everywhere, and the local work of the NGOs, local NGOs who did a lot of work, also helping all those NGOs that are coming from outside and other entities to deliver those needs in that very, very special circumstances. Up to now, we have about more than, I think, 5,650 deaths, and I think almost the injured have exceeded maybe over 6,000. But like I said, the damage done is very deep and wide.
Thank you so much, Mr. Majidi. Amira Al-Ghawabi, Canada's first anti-Islamophobia official, is looking for ways to support and protect Muslims. In January 2023, she was appointed as Canada's special representative on combating Islamophobia. In a video interview, Al-Ghawabi said she is concerned about the tiny minority of people who harbor misconceptions about Muslims and may act on those harmful views. Canada has seen more attacks on Muslims in the past 6 years than any G7 country. Later this month, Al-Ghawabi's office, in collaboration with several organizations, will release a practical guide on anti-Muslim hate. The guide provides steps to improve community agency collaboration. That includes recognizing anti-Muslim hate in Canada and emphasizing the need for contingency plans for attacks on Muslims. The guide also calls for increased security measures at mosques, especially during larger gatherings such as Eid prayers. Another important goal is to improve the response times to hate crimes, including supporting survivors and ensuring incidents are reported promptly. Amnesty International and more than 200 civil society groups have called on governments to review the human rights and climate policies of the United Arab Emirates. The United Arab Emirates is hosting the 28th United Nations Climate Change Summit, or COP28, from November 30th to December 12th. The joint statement highlights the relationship between climate justice and human rights. It calls on governments to use COP28 to highlight the human rights violation in the United Arab Emirates. The United Arab Emirates has rejected these allegations and ensured all COP28 participants can protest peacefully. In August, Human Rights Watch called for the release of human rights defenders in the UAE before the start of COP28. The agency noted 58 activists remain detained in the country. The Palestinian National Committee, BDS, also called for a boycott of COP28 to put pressure on the UAE. The statement highlights UAE's human rights problems, the country's greenwashing attempts, and its plan to increase oil and gas production. COP28 President Sultan Al Jaber, also the CEO of Abu Dhabi National Oil Company, is cited as a potential conflict of interest. This dual role has been controversial since May 2023, prompting lawmakers in the United States and the European Union to push for Sultan Al Jaber's withdrawal from his post at COP28. NASA's inaugural report on the Unidentified Anomalous Phenomena, or UAP, commonly known as UFOs, reveals no evidence of extraterrestrial sources. The independent study, commissioned in 2022, was intended to guide NASA and other government agencies in improving data collection and analysis. NASA's administrator, Bill Nelson, says while UAPs do not have an extraterrestrial origin, their true nature remains mysterious. Nelson announced the agency intends to appoint a director for UAP research and cooperate with other agencies in further investigations. The report also highlights the challenges in analyzing data, including problems such as inadequate sensor calibration and the lack of comprehensive measurements. The report emphasized by taking a rigorous scientific approach, NASA could reduce the long-standing skepticism and stigma associated with UFO studies. The report recommended working with the Federal Aviation Administration and using artificial intelligence to sift through the vast amounts of data for true anomalies. It also presented several images of alleged UAPs, of which some still have not been identified. U.S. government attention recently shifted increasingly to UFOs or UAPs, largely due to revelations by former intelligence and military personnel about unidentified sightings. That's all from our Toronto studios tonight. Thank you for tuning in. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell icon for the latest updates. For more content, keep watching Muslim Network TV or visit muslimnetwork.tv. Assalamu alaikum and good night.